An upset in boxing is when a fighter who's expected to win in a fight ends up winning, and as a result betting companies offer more reward to those who bet on the winning fighter. There's been a massive amount of huge upsets throughout boxing history, all of which vary in how unpredictable they were. The list is going to be in order from how wide the odds were before the fight. And we're going to start off the list with Julio Cesar Chavez versus Frankie Randall, where Chavez was a 1-in-15 favourite. For a bit of context, Chavez was dominating boxing for about 10 years before this point. He had a record of 89 wins, no losses and 1 draw. He won the super featherweight title in 1984, then moved up to lightweight to face the legend Jose Luis Ramirez, after defending his super featherweight title 12 times to become a 2-division champion, before immediately moving up again to become a 3-division champion by TKO versus Roger Mayweather. He defended his titles 29 times over the course of 10 years against opponents like Meldrick Taylor, also having names like Hector Camacho on his record. He did have 1 blemish on his record at the hands of Pernell Whitaker, who took Chavez to a debatable draw, but Whitaker himself is an all-time great, so there's no shame there. By 1994, Chavez's most recent performance was a TKO win over Mark Holligan, who was 21-0, and now Chavez was set to face Frankie Randall. Randall had a record of 48 wins and 2 losses. He previously lost to Edwin Rosario, who Chavez himself beat, and was also known for getting knocked out cold by Primo Ramos in his only 2 professional defeats. Randall had gone on to have a decent winning streak, but mostly against low-level competition, so as a result this was expected to be a routine win for Chavez. Another name to his long list of defences.
About a good body attack by He must also be on the look at difficulty against moving side to side. It wouldn't be a surprise.
Past 3 rounds.
Never operated in stealing some thunder from the ring.
Landing some good jabs.
When Chavez came into the ring, used to look. He looked the other way. He didn't want to be intimidated, which is a major plus coming into this kind of fight with Chavez.
Except my father.
Immediately, Randall seems to be fighting better than he's ever been seen. Knowing how much he needs to do to get a decision over Chavez, he begins round 1 completely switched on, and Chavez is having issues closing the distance.
Question about that. Frankie Randall, I think, has just a bit more power on his shots. I think Cornell relies on his speed. And Chavez.
And some good shots here by Frankie Randall.
His attention with that one, Steve. Well, that was the surprise. Principles right now.
Well run by the challenger.
Randall chose to beat Chavez to the punch and also match his activity, which is risky because of how persistent Chavez can be and his gas tank.
So far, he's been fighting his fight.
He's been a surprise. That is the surprise of Frankie Randall at this point.
You know what else Randall's doing that's real good? Every time Chavez hits him in the side.
Stopped Edwin Rosario in the 7th, avenging a loss to Rosario 8 years earlier. The problem is he's having problems getting stuck.
He's always been a slow starter. And with Whitaker, he's being outthought, Fight, I gave the first to make the move. Here, I've given the vision
over the year. Randall. Midway through the 3rd.
But I'll bet you dollars to donuts that Frankie Randall not only watched, but Whitaker.
Chavez's game plan now was to target the body, to slow down Randall's movement and his activity.
Chavez almost looks confused.
Like Chavez.
He doesn't want to give Randall the room, so he's trying.
I do too.
And so does his corner. Good shots.
Wait, that's the punch that's hurt Frankie so far. Oh, there's another Chavez.
Legendary left hook of Chavez. Another one to turn a little here in round 4. Trademark of Chavez. Right hand missed by Julio. Countering combination to the head by Randall.
Despite his adjustments, Randall refused to slow down. So now there was some urgency for Chavez.
Low blow by Chavez, and he goes upstairs.
When he gets within range, he digs it.
At the age of 32, he doesn't seem to be
his glory right here. On action, but if he looks as good.
Hard body shots now by Chavez, just aiming for the gut. Now he goes to the head, relatively unscathed.
Chavez chopping down.
Chavez did well in the mid-rounds, picking his shots better. Along with the body shots, it became a more even fight, as Randall's activity slowed down.
It's a little starch, a little air. Leave Frankie Randall's butt.
Another exchange. Chavez, though, getting the better of it.
But Randall is answering every time Chavez is hard, but sometimes they're more up it. I mean, that's some equation. I mean, Chavez.
But as Chavez increased his activity, he himself also began to slow in the second half.
Oh, good left hand there by Randall. He snuck it in. Another left by Randall. Look at Randall go. Back comes Chavez. Back comes Randall.
Unbelievable. What a fight. He's fighting Chavez's fight, and he's keeping it almost as even as can be. He's just reacting to the punches, getting hit a little more big early, won all the early round. Now he's kind of slacked off a little bit.
And Chavez is
because Chavez is digging low. His punches. Needs to rip you over the top again.
chance to go. Unbelievable atmosphere here. And Frank Counting, and all of those are point makers. Load. Back comes Chavez. Randall the one.
By round 8, Randall had a second wind and was now landing cleaner than he's ever landed on Chavez. But knowing the judges, he needed to guarantee a win.
Is going to be an interesting decision if it goes off.
Is he trying to reverse?
No. Back comes Chavez.
To win the round.
Oh, down goes Chavez for the flush on the face. And now it's goodbye title, Bobby.
Frankie Randall becomes the first man to put down Julio Cesar Chavez. 90 opponents tried, 90 opponents failed. And at this point it seems like boxing's number one was about to lose.
Pull down, save, steal from any kind.
I think without the point started getting careless because he's
Brown, and Chavez is not has lost an awful lot of like the champion he has been. Except to let it pass. Of his first. Randall remains, he looked 10 seconds to a dream.
Could we stand a draw?
Frankie Randall being mobbed by his corner people, saying we did it.
We have a split decision. 116-111, Frankie Randall. Chavarria scores the bout 114-113, Julio Cesar Chavez. Judge at ringside, Angel Luis Guzman scores the bout 114-113 in favor of the winner and new champion, Frankie the Surgeon Randall.
Which is going to take us 20 years into the future. Josh Warrington versus Mauricio Lara. In 2021, Josh Warrington was one of the UK's best fighters. He produced a lot of massively entertaining fights against the likes of Lee Selby and Cal Frampton. He became the IBF featherweight champion in 2018. His most recent performance was a knockout win in 2 rounds over Sofian Takoucht. However, despite that, there was a glaring issue in Warrington's game, that being his lack of punching power. But that didn't seem to be a concern when his next opponent was announced. Not much was known about Mauricio Lara before this fight, besides the fact he had 2 losses, one being a first round knockout by body shot, and his record leading up to the fight wasn't impressive either. So similar to his most recent fight, this was expected to be a routine win for Josh Warrington.
To seek out win number 31 against the Mexican. Huge step up in class and levels. Warrington has been operating for a long time. Body shot there. There's some butterflies, not a normal scenario, and also being out the ring, but that's better though with the combinations.
Josh found Lara to be a very easy target early on in the fight, but no matter how hard he was throwing, his punches could not put a dent in the Mexican.
To get what huge victory in the scheme. Just one for Warrington there, Lara. And just in a spot of bother, he hasn't seemed quite in the legs, are shaky, and now he's all over the place here, Josh Warrington. Bad signs. Mauricio Lara here looked himself, and a great shot, and down goes Warrington. This is absolutely disastrous for the best featherweight in the world before, and he's all over the place. And okay, that was a really bad knockdown, and Lara's on the verge here. Hey, Warrington out in what will be one of the biggest upsets we've seen in recent times. And the unknown 22-year-old from Mexico is maybe a punch or 2 away, and needs the bell, and he needs it now. Oh, he just about gets back there, and Howard Foster.
Warrington made the mistake of trading on the inside with a Mexican, underestimating how devastating Lara's power would be, and as a result he goes down for the first time in his career.
Title or anything, remember, with the politics, wanted the big fights, and he just doesn't look right at all, and I wonder if Lara can just take him out here. Josh Warrington fighting bravely but almost on instinct here. I wonder if the weight's an issue or something.
I don't know what it is, but he hasn't looked right from the first bally.
He's clinging on to his unbeaten record. Right hand from Warrington, through cleanly. Lara shakes them off.
I think Lara will absolutely kick himself if he doesn't win this fight.
109th of Ruiz, never been in the ring with anyone like Josh Warrington's and his CV.
But you know, he's approached this fight thinking, I'm fighting a world champion, Josh Warrington, so he's in prepared.
Bit of a combination from Warrington, but then he gets caught and he was hurt again. Now we're in the 8th, and again Warrington walks into a big left hand.
This guy Ruben Run, who was a defence of the European title.
And there, he nearly went again, Warrington. He's in the 9th round, and there's so much time, and down he goes, and he won't get up from that. That's it. Josh Warrington has been knocked out. Big stunners in a British ring in the last 2 or 3 years. Has been stopped, Josh Warrington, and he loses for the first time in his life.
The unknown Mexican brutally knocks out Josh Warrington, and out of nowhere becomes one of the best featherweights in the world. And Josh's career was never really the same afterwards. Which takes us to Lennox Lewis versus Rahman. Going into this fight, Lennox Lewis had such an incredible resume. He was firmly the #1 heavyweight in the world at this point. It started with his 2-round destruction over Donovan Razor Ruddock, followed by a win over Tony Tucker for the WBC heavyweight title, then stopping Frank Bruno, stopping Phil Jackson, stopping Tommy Morrison, beating Ray Mercer, Henry Akinwande, Andrew Galotta in 1 round, Shannon Briggs in 5, should be 2 wins over Evander Holyfield, and most recently a decision win over David Tua. However, there is one glaring mark in Lennox's career. 7 years ago, he got knocked out by Oliver McCall. In the 2nd round, he got careless, dropped his hands too much, and got himself caught in between punches. Besides that fight though, Lennox has been perfect. It was seen as a simple mistake. In the heavyweight division, these things just happen. So Lennox avenged his loss versus McCall in a rematch and proceeded to go on the best run of his career, which is going to take us to his opponent. Rahman had been knocked out twice in his career, one at the hands of David Tua, who Lewis himself beat in his most recent fight, then being knocked out of the ring at the hands of Oleg Maskaev. So this was one of Lewis's easier opponents on paper.
He's still looking for the right. Looking for that lucky right hand shot. See, there's the right hand that I was telling you.
Rahman has a terrific record in terms of knockouts. There was a good combination by Lewis, gesturing to his man to come forward. Uppercut once again.
Nice uppercut.
Way in considerable style. Maybe as a combination, overhand right. Short right hand inside from the champion. Lewis started as a 15 or 18 to 1 on favourite.
It's still too early, you know, and I still don't count Rahman out. Well, this is the kind of fight that we was here looking for.
Rahman landed decent shots himself, but Lewis was clearly the superior boxer in there.
Rahman in a little bit of trouble. To be fair to him, he came back, and that right hand of his has come in. And what a great challenger he is.
Rahman's got to get close in case they... Oh, beautiful. This is what he was trying to suck Lennox Lewis in again to throw the right hand.
Lewis had started to drop his hands, which was concerning considering how close Rahman was getting with these punches.
Still there right hand wasn't too far away. Whoa! A little bit underneath his own left eye. Good nice combination.
Good right body shot. He's going to make him pay for that right hook that he just got caught with. Oh!
Lewis seems to be fighting as if there's no chance of him being knocked out.
Oh, he's got him! He's got him! He got Captain Oliver McCall all over again. It is, and Lewis has gone. Lewis has gone. It's another upset of immense proportions.
Predictably, once again, Lewis drops his hands and gets knocked out, again versus a fighter who technically shouldn't be beating him, which takes us to our next upset, Vladimir Klitschko versus Corey Sanders. Klitschko was heavyweight's best prospect for a good period of time. An amateur standout from Ukraine, He did lose an earlier fight versus Ross Purity in his first 12-round fight, a fight in which he looks spectacular early on. But since he hasn't learned yet to properly manage his stamina, he gradually slows down throughout the fight, and by round 10 he's completely out of energy, and he ends up losing by TKO in round 11 to the much more experienced fighter. But because of how good he looked early on, the idea was that if he controls his stamina, he can still be the force that he was predicted to be before the fight. And Klitschko would prove that theory correct by knocking out Phil Jackson before fighting for the title for the first time in his career, where he not only wins by shutout, but also proves he can go 12 rounds without issue now. Along with his win over Ray Mercer, he seems to have a great future in the heavyweight division. His opponent for his 6th title defence would be South Africa's Corey Sanders, who we see here getting stopped by Hasim Rahman, as mentioned earlier. Sanders was a powerful guy, but not really considered a threat to Klitschko, having 2 knockout losses in his career.
In the heavyweight division, you cannot take a risk. And against Sanders, he's fighting a big punch. Vladimir Klitschko, usually an aggressive jabber. As Corey Sanders lines up in his southpaw profile, it may be more difficult for Vladimir to get the jab in. Hard left hand by Corey Sanders moved Klitschko back. It's the kind of thing that could cause big problems against Sanders. Both those tendencies here tonight, because he wants to try to present a more elusive target to Vladimir. Left hook lands for Klitschko, right hand to the body. Left hand by Sanders, snap Klitschko's head back.
The problem Klitschko is having, he's got his knees bent, lowering his height some more.
And Klitschko goes down on a huge left hand inside by Corey Sanders.
Klitschko tries his best to hold on to avoid a flurry from Sanders, but eats a massive left hand in the process, putting him down, which he never really recovers from.
Klitschko's left eye, right on the eyebrow. Long time to go in the round. Vladimir down a second time.
And the next big thing is about to become the last big bust if he go down again, although the clock is running out on this round.
So Vladimir Klitschko is down twice in the opening round against Corey Sanders, and all of Germany holds its breath.
Just as Ross Purity exposed his stamina issues, Corey Sanders exposes Klitschko's chin for not being the most durable, going down to the only power punch he takes in the fight.
Rahman was able to do in this situation. He was able to come back and knock Sanders out. Now Klitschko's down a third time, and there are 2 minutes 53 seconds to go in this round.
And he's not seeing that left hand come. He just cannot see the left hand that Sanders is hitting him with.
And he's attacking to try to get out of trouble instead of holding, and this is not going to go well. Another knockdown, the 4th time, and the referee, Gennaro Rodriguez, stops the fight, and thus ends the Vitaly Klitschko, or the Vladimir Klitschko Express.
You can look at Klitschko's body, there's still not much sweat on him at all.
Klitschko fixes his stamina, but not the defense. But that's something he would do in the future, which is why he went on to dominate heavyweight for 10 years. Which takes us to our next pick, Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. Maybe the most impactful recent case on the list. It's important to mention how much Joshua was built up before this fight. He was an Olympic gold medalist, clearly with a bright future ahead of him. He soon turned professional to sign a lucrative deal with Matchroom, where he'd make them a lot of money, knocking out all of his opponents on the way up, winning his first title versus Charles Martin in 2016, followed by the WBO title versus Vladimir Klitschko, the WBA versus Joseph Parker, and most recently stopping Alexander Povetkin. So things were on course for the undisputed fight versus Deontay Wilder, but until then he had to deal with mandatory challenger Jarrell Miller. The fight with Miller would not go through, as Miller tests positive for a whole pharmacy in his system, so they found Andy Ruiz Jr. as a replacement on 2 weeks' notice. Ruiz was somewhat dangerous, fast hands, cracking power, but very slow feet. But the way people saw it, Ruiz lost a close decision to Joseph Parker, who Joshua himself beat convincingly, so this was considered a routine knockout for Joshua.
Round 1 underway. Joshua, a significant height advantage on Ruiz.
Yeah, his people say against Parker, he just did. So we will.
His doughy body. As you can see, there's quite a...
Joshua starts the fight very slow, but as he should, keeping his distance behind the jab because Ruiz is visibly dangerous on the inside, so Joshua made an effort to stay away.
Maybe patient is the better word, as Ruiz caught him with the right hand after Joshua missed over the top.
Ruiz was getting close with some of his combinations on the inside, but nothing too serious so far.
Gates in round number 2 with a nice combination up top and a good exchange from his career. There's that jab again from Joshua.
Left-handed here. He's only thrown the right hand a couple of times.
Hook. And the right hand off Ruiz. And then a left hand from Joshua, but a nice counter from Ruiz. In between being in back in after he got this fight. And there he goes down! Ruiz back on his feet after getting dropped by Joshua. Joshua, huge right hand, lands on the jaw of Ruiz.
No idea how.
And Ruiz counters. Ruiz counters and Joshua's down. Andy Ruiz knocks down Anthony Joshua. Here at Madison Square Garden. Ruiz back at it. Can Ruiz take advantage? Big right hand there from Joshua. Ruiz lands another right hand on Joshua. Diving with a big right hand that lands on Joshua. And Joshua covering up. Headed towards the down. And Joshua's down again. Second time in round number 3. He cannot be saved by the bell. Anthony Joshua is shaken.
He is in big trouble.
Joshua gets a knockdown in round 3, but makes the same mistake as Josh Warrington. He gets carried away exchanging on the inside with a Mexican, who is much more durable than Joshua anticipated, and proceeds to put Joshua down twice in the same round. So Joshua had to continue to stay away.
Start of round number 4, and Ruiz right away on the attack. In his favor and stun Ruiz. Beautifully from the knockdown before in his career. Big left hand there from Joshua.
Joshua recovers well from the disastrous round 3, but Ruiz wasn't forcing anything and taking his time, waiting for openings.
Joshua, big left hook there, doubles up. Right hand to the body for Ruiz, then dive. And down. Joshua, big left hand that stumped, and then Ruiz right back to Joshua, in trouble, losing his footing. He's down again. Joshua finally landing a big blow, and now another Ruiz counter. Joshua's down.
Joshua threw 3-4 punches, left himself open. Ruiz dropped him. And already gone out. Maybe that's it.
Every time Joshua made the mistake of leaving himself open, he got clipped for it and put down, making Andy Ruiz Jr. the new unified heavyweight champion, and spoiling everyone's plans for Undisputed. Which takes us to our next pick, Jorge Linares versus Pablo Cesar Cano, where Linares was as big as minus 3,300 favourite. It's important to mention how good of a streak Linares was on before this fight. He was the former featherweight champion before moving up to lightweight, where he travelled to the UK to beat Anthony Crolla twice, followed by the Olympian Luke Campbell and Filipino Mercito Hesta. He was the lightweight champion and ready to defend his title versus Vasily Lomachenko. Loma at this point was in the middle of his massive win streak. Some people considered him pound for pound number 1. And in their fight, Linares actually put down Lomachenko for the first time in his career. The two would go back and forth for 10 rounds, Loma's most competitive fight since Orlando Salido, before Linares eventually goes down to a body shot in round 10. But because of how well he fought in this fight, his stock was raised despite the loss. He then knocks out Abner Cotto in 3 rounds and was booked for a tune-up fight versus 31 wins and 7 losses, Pablo Cesar Cano. You couldn't make much of a case for Cano before this fight, but he was fresh over an upset over undefeated Kazakh prospect Ruslan Madaev.
And we're really looking forward to it. Will he and can he entertain us?
One of the better fighters of modern times, Linares, but caught straight away there.
In the opening few seconds of the first round, Cano lands a lovely shot. He can be vulnerable early, and Pablo Cesar Cano sniffed that. What a start for Cano.
Yep, just caught cold there, Linares, come out casually.
Shock early on, Paul.
Just been caught cold early on, but he's got to be careful. He's landed a good left hook of his own. The round's gone, forget about it. Stay safe.
Just sitting in the pocket a little bit too much for my liking. And again, the right hand over the top. the punch resistance doesn't seem to be there.
One of the biggest crises in Jorge Linares' career.
Here timing around to go for Cano, in after the left hook. No, big left hook.
Down he goes again, but the referee's having a close look here. Ricky Gonzalez, he says he's okay, thinks it. But is 25 seconds enough for Cano? One more surely will be enough.
Yeah, he's caught again there, Linares. He seems to be in desperate trouble.
The place and Cano on the verge of a big win, and he's got it. What an upset here as Jorge Linares is taken out in one round, and it might be the end of his amazing career.
Pablo Cesar Cano puts down Jorge Linares in the first 10 seconds of the fight. Linares never fully recovers, and just like that his career takes a nosedive. Which takes us to number 1, the biggest upset in boxing history, Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas, where Douglas was a 42-1 underdog. This upset was actually so big that it changed the way the odds makers display their odds, because they introduced a limit to the odds an underdog can have. Because now a single bet in boxing can't go over 25-1. It can't be understated how unbeatable Mike Tyson was in 1988. He was the youngest heavyweight champion in history, and the way he was putting every opponent away in the first few rounds was never seen before. Not just at heavyweight but in any division in general. Starting with his knockout over Trevor Berbick in 1986 to become the heavyweight champion at the age of 20. Then beating 34-0 Tony Tucker, being the first to knock out Larry Holmes, one of the best of all time. Then putting away Michael Spinks in 90 seconds, someone who was 31-0, undefeated light heavyweight champion who'd beaten Larry Holmes twice, followed by a knockout over Frank Bruno, and most recently got a first round knockout over Cal Williams. So in the people's eyes, Mike Tyson was at his absolute best, on his way to breaking all the records in boxing. It's then agreed that Tyson would fight across the world, headlining the Tokyo Dome in Japan, and at this point Mike Tyson is a global celebrity. It doesn't matter who his opponent would be in Japan, as long as Tyson was fighting, people would tune in. That opponent would be chosen to be James Buster Douglas. Douglas had been knocked out by Tony Tucker, who Tyson himself beat, as well as 3 other losses besides that, including 2 other knockouts. But he was on a decent streak of his own, beating Oliver McCall and Trevor Berbick on his way to the title. But regardless, there was not a case you could make for Tyson not winning this one, as Buster was one of Tyson's worst opponents in recent years. To make matters worse, Buster Douglas lost his mother 23 days before the fight. For most people this would be a bad sign, however for Buster this may have been motivation. Before she passed away, Buster promised his mother that he would beat Mike Tyson.
To me, and I'm going to miss her tremendously. But, it's got to go on.
People now say Douglas has less chance than ever to win this fight.
It's easy to be negative. I mean, it's easy to give up, say the hell with it. But to be positive and be strong and have the faith, it takes a lot, and I think that by becoming a heavyweight champion, that I would be able to, show the youth here that, it's possible to fulfill your dreams.
You've heard the references to Mike Tyson's reign of terror. Here now some statistics which demonstrate the degree to which he has dominated the heavyweight division since becoming champion. 52 rounds in title fights, an average of only 5.2 rounds per title fight. For the moment, that is the best figure in the history of heavyweight champions. Tail of the tape, you heard Mike Tyson say before the fight that he's always had a physical disadvantage against his opponents, and here it is again.
James Buster Douglas, the undefeated, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, the one and only Iron Mike Tyson.
The dressing room instruction. Shake hands and good luck both.
Douglas insists that he's going to shock the world in this fight.
He would shock most of the world if he could make it into the middle rounds. Fighter who likes to work behind a stiff left jab.
I'm surprised to see Buster moving so well. I mean, I think the weight has made a difference in his upper body movement and his legs.
Keep in mind that Carl Williams looked pretty loose and relaxed against Tyson until Tyson hit him with a body punch about 45 seconds into the bout. Behind the left jab, he landed twice.
See, Mike has to be careful also because Mike's standing in front of him too.
Couple of right hands by Douglas.
Yeah.
Another right hand lead by Douglas, and Tyson lands the left hook.
That was a good round for Douglas, and I gave it to him. Films, because he takes a move. He steps to his right, give him a little angle.
Douglas giving as good as he gets inside right there. He punched at computations, 22 punches to 8. Round
Very hard right hand by Douglas inside that Tyson walked right into.
Another right hand lead lands for Douglas.
Tyson to reach in. When you reach in, that's what
Another
happens.
good right hand and a good right uppercut and 2 more good rights by Douglas. I don't think I've ever seen Tyson absorb that kind of a 4 or 5 punch combination about it. That's another good round that I gave to Buster Douglas.
I just want to say, be smart, work your way in.
Another good right, but Tyson comes right through it.
Tyson's trying to leap in behind the left hook. He landed that one under Douglas's chin, near the middle of the chest. Douglas with another right hand to the top of Tyson's head.
This is the first time since Kevin Rooney hasn't been with Mike Tyson that he's needed some answers from the corner.
He was extremely close to his mother. Right hand by Douglas right on Tyson's chin.
Yes. Good left hook
Douglas
by Douglas.
again with a left and a right. And now Tyson lands a right hand and backs Buster up, but here he comes.
Michael is punching.
Of course, is Evander Holyfield, who has a guarantee of $12 million to fight Mike Tyson in June. And right now, that $12 million isn't in the bank.
This is the round in which Tyson turned things around against Frank Bruno. Right hand by Douglas lands again.
There's that right hand again. It's going to happen every time.
Another right hand, and now Tyson seems to be wobbled. Mike is not throwing back. Buster Douglas is completely dominating this round with jabs and right crosses.
That's another round for Buster Douglas.
And you begin to file through your memory for the biggest upsets in heavyweight championship fight history.
I don't think there would be anything like this.
I agree.
This would create a new standard of upsets if this went on. If this fight was being held in the States, the crowd would be in an uproar right now.
Here they are eerily silent. Douglas with another right hand. It was almost 25 years ago when a 7-1 betting underdog named Cassius Clay thoroughly frustrated and whipped a Sonny Liston in Miami Beach at a time when Liston was regarded as invincible. You have to go back that far to find something this shocking in a heavyweight title fight.
No combinations by Mike Tyson.
A heavyweight champion regarded as completely invincible in these circumstances is in big trouble.
Come back and win it.
Look at the punches.
These right-hand leads are not diminishing in effectiveness, guys. Well, there's just no question which is the more confident fighter now.
Tyson is holding on.
I've never seen this happen before with Mike Tyson. He's always been the initiator. Here he's against the ropes. I've never seen.
And there's a right hand uppercut, and down goes Douglas. As suddenly as that.
Can he beat the count?
He got a little overconfident. Got a little loosey-goosey. Still wobbly. Let's see what Mike can do to finish. And the bell ends to save Buster Douglas at the end of round 8.
Tyson is backing up. Now, perhaps he's trying to bait him to come in and to relax, because that was the effect of it.
Left hand lands by Tyson. Right to the body. He tries the uppercut again and misses. Douglas comes back with a left and a right. Solid right cross. Douglas wobbled again. Shades of Ray Leonard against Tommy Hearns. Douglas coming back with a left and right. Tyson is wobbling. Tyson needs the ropes for support. Douglas wailing away. Without the ropes, Mike would have gone down. And again, the champion wobbles back to the ropes.
And And Mike Tyson is hurt, his eye is closing, and he is behind in this fight. And Tyson, to his credit, has stood in there and taken the punches.
Oh, what a right hand by Tyson to begin the 10th round. Emphasis on man, Larry. This has been an inspired, courageous performance by a man whose mother has died within the past month, whose son's mother is battling a difficult kidney ailment, who had every reason to come into this bout depressed and downtrodden, chosen by no one to have a chance of getting out of the first few rounds, and he has thoroughly dominated Mike Tyson with the exception of the moment when he went down. To get in the shot that will finish things in.
Oh, the uppercut.
What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's over. It's over.
Mike Tyson has been knocked out.
Unbelievable. This makes Cinderella look like a sad story, what Buster Douglas has done here tonight.
Let's go ahead and call it the biggest upset in the history of heavyweight championship fights. Say it now, gentlemen. James Buster Douglas, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
I would be willing to say it's the greatest upset in boxing history. Las Vegas, they wouldn't even put up any odds on this fight. And suddenly, Mike Tyson, perceived as this giant monolith, has been reduced to being another heavyweight champion who got defeated.
Buster Douglas scores the biggest upset by far in boxing history. Tyson's lack of discipline before the fight may explain why he was such a stationary target for the whole fight, unlike his usual agile self, which ultimately led to his first loss. Now there are some other fights I could have used in this video. Yoyoka Gamboa versus Robinson Castellanos. Castellanos was 14-1. Holyfield over Tyson surprisingly was actually 14-1 at one point, but the odds did close to 5-1 on fight day. Other upsets like Muhammad Ali versus Leon Spinks or Nonito Donaire versus Viktor Chinyan don't quite make the list because they fall under the 10-1 mark. And that's going to do it for the video. Like and subscribe, leave a comment. Goodbye.